Hello and welcome back to the Next Gen Racing YouTube channel for our Aintre Grand National Festival preview. Yes, 3 days up in Liverpool at Aintree for what is always a fantastic meeting with the Grand National to end things at the end of the week. It is a cracking week. I almost have it in line with the Cheltenham Festival, Jack. I'm really looking forward to it, but the level of racing is top notch.
It is, yeah, it's absolutely top notch. And I think from a betting perspective, I sometimes find it a little bit more profitable than Cheltenham. I think the market's probably a truer reflection of what you have in front of you without anti-post markets, a few months in advance. So yeah, it's always a very competitive week of racing. Always great for looking for pointers for next year as well. And hopefully we've got a few winners lined up as well.
Absolutely, I'm sure during the show we'll be talking about the ground as well. Likely to be heavy for the Grand National. Not often we get that, so that'll be interesting to hear how we bring the ground into some of these selections. But instead of going through all of the big races, because there are plenty of them, Jack and I are going to give you our top 5 bets for the week, and then we're going to preview the Grand National itself. Rather than us going over races saying we won't be having a bet in this, there's no point in us previewing it if we're not too keen on anything in those races. So our top 5 bets, and Jack, you're going to start things off with bet number 5.
I'm going to start things off in the Melling Chase. It's a short one, but I think Protectorat's going to be pretty well suited to this race over 2.5 miles. To be honest, I mean, look at the way he won the Ryanair. He sat in there just on the coattails of the leaders, picked it up in good style, but I just really like the way he travelled as well. He ended up winning by 4 lengths. I think it could have been 5 or 6. He absolutely used class that day. I think the ground's gone against John Bond completely. I think it's going to be absolutely perfect for him. He's won at Aintree before in a Grade 1. And I think Protectorat's going to be one of many winners for the Skeltons this week.
Yeah, one over the course and distance as a novice Protectorat. He is going to be in my top 5, but we'll get to that later in the show. I'll go with my first one, which comes on the Friday in the 2:55. It's the top novices hurdle, another Grade 1. And I put this horse up for Cheltenham. I just pray to God that someone like Danny Mullins gets the rides on this. And it's Asian Master in the top novices hurdle at around 12-1. Now, actually go back and watch that Supreme. This horse was under Mr. T. Costello. We know, I think he was about 6'6", David Jennings was telling me. But this horse was travelling so well around the bend. There was one stage where I actually thought this horse is going to be in the frame, and it didn't quite happen. The horse came about 8 wide, I think, on the bend at Cheltenham, and I was a bit like, what's going on here? But I can see why someone like Danny Mullins, I believe he was quite keen to get a ride on this horse, and he's ridden the horse before. I'm very keen on Asian Master. I think actually he's going to make a lovely chaser next season. Really excited about him for next season. He'll be on a horse to follow, but I think he can get closer to the first 2 in the Supreme from Cheltenham. I think he'll be right in the frame. I think 12-1's a great each way bet, and I think on a flat course like Aintree, I think that will really suit along with the ground. So Asian Master being me bet number 5. I'll go to bet number 4, and my bet number 4 comes on the Thursday in the Aintree Bowl, and I'm going to put up Corbett's Cross in the Aintree Bowl at around 4-1. Now, there are a lot of question marks in this race about a lot of the runners, isn't there? There really is. Like, Jerry Colomb had a tough race in the Gold Cup. I'm sure we'll talk about Corrick Rambler later in the show as well. You've also got Brave Man's Game, who suddenly got cheek pieces on. Shishkin, who knows what Shishkin's to turn up. We have the Nicky Henderson question marks. We hope Nicky has a much better week. It'd be great to see the Yard have a better week, but we just don't know as of yet how good a form the top notches are going to be in. But Corbett's Cross at Cheltenham, I just love the way he travelled. He made it look so effortless. And JP McManus has such a great array of Gold Cup horses coming through from the novices. Also, I've got Factor File as well to look forward to, and Iron Maximus, who's a horse who will be running in the Grand National. He's got some really exciting horses that could be Gold Cup potential, and I definitely think this is one of them. Yes, he's a novice, but I just think that looking at this field, there are so many question marks. Hoy Senior, he does run well at Aintree, but again, he hasn't had the best of seasons, has he, compared to what he had previously leading into Aintree. So, yeah, I'm going to take Corbett's Cross around 4-1 in the bowl. I think there's still improvement in him. I think he'll be travelling well, and I just got a feeling that he will take the beating in the bowl. Jack, bet number 4 for you.
I really like you sticking your neck out there. I think it's a very tough race, and I think you can make a case for a lot, but I like you sticking your neck out there for Corbett's Cross. I almost don't want to do this, to be fair, but I really do actually think Langadan has a great chance of placing in the Aintree hurdle. And I know people are going to say, Jack, he's your favourite horse. Of course you would say this. I've tried to take out as much bias as possible here. You've got Bob Ollinger and Perry Pass at the top of the market. You can trust them both as far as you can throw them, in my opinion. And yes, Langadan does have £5 or £10 to find, but he didn't just win the Coral Cup. He absolutely hacked up. He jumped perfectly. He travelled strongly. He won the handicap as pretty much as easy as you could win a handicap without winning it by 10, 15 lengths. We know he's primed for this. We know how much he fires in April. My one worry is he might not get that strong pace that he gets in a big handicap. that could be the thing to find him out if it comes to a turn of foot. But if we have got a bog underfoot, I really couldn't trust Bob Ollinger and Impere Pass. And if one of them does fell to 5, you've got second and third there, and at 12 to 1 each way, I really do think Langadam will be able to thrive in the Aintree hurdle.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more with you, actually, in terms of the fact that Langadam is a great price in this thing. It's great placing from Skelton because he only, I think, top 4 or 5. You get prize money anyway, and it'd be massive for the trainer start on a race like this. But yeah, Langadam are great each way, but I completely agree with you in the Aintree hurdle at 3:30. My next best, my third bet, comes in the opening race of the festival, the 1:45, which is the Manifesto Novices Chase over 2.5 miles. And I'm going to go with Il Était Temps here, who's currently around 7 to 2. Now, this horse is as consistent as it gets. Now, I understand that you've got Grey Dawning and Ginny Destiny, the 1-2 from the Turners in here from the Cheltenham Festival, but Il Était Temps ran in a different novice race, ran in the Arkle behind Founder 50 and Gaelic Warrior, who, look, Gaelic Warrior probably could have won both the Turners and the Arkle. On his day, he is a different beast. He is of a different level. I think we're dealing with a high quality horse then. Just look at Il Était Temps stay on in that race. I think this step up to 2 mile 4 is going to really suit. I can see him as a 2.5 mile horse for next season. I just think with Ginny's Destiny and Grey Dawning, do I think it was the strongest of Turners? I don't. I do think that they're good horses, but do I think it was that strong? No. Do I think Il Était Temps could end up to be the better of the 3 in here? And I think that could be the case. I'd rule out Blow Your Wad and Colonel Harry. That probably end up being the forecast. But yeah, I'll be with Willie Mullins and Paul Townend. Il Était Temps 7 to 2, taking on the favourites in the opening race, the Manifesto Novices Chase. Jack, to you for number 3.
Yeah, Sam, I completely agree with you. I think Il Était Temps, he nearly actually made my top 5. I think the 2.5 miles will suit him down to a T. But for number 3, I'm going to go to a handicap where I think Brucio has a big chance in the Diet handicap hurdle, I'm going to call it, on the Friday. She's 12 to 1, and I was just so impressed with the way she won at the Dublin Racing Festival in that 2 mile 2 mares handicap hurdle there. She put it to bed in great style. The leader looked like she got out in front, but she reeled her in and then put the race to bed by 6 lengths. I think this race will suit her to an absolute T. She was brought down at Kelso next time out, but I think she has a humongous chance. She's off a mark of 132. I think Ben Bromley being booked is a big bonus in the conditional jockeys handicap hurdle, of course, but I think 12 to 1 is a big price for Brucio. I think she can go on to bigger and better things after taking this out off 132.
Okay, Brucio for Jack then. Jack, you can go for number 2. Carry on.
Oh, number 2, I'm going to go to, yep, you guessed it, a Dan Skelton trained mare, and it's in the William Hill handicap hurdle, the one on the Friday, not the Saturday, and it's going to be Katira at 12 to 1. And quite frankly, I think she's just been perfectly laid out for this. She ran a huge race in last season's Grade 1 Mersey Novices hurdle. She was second to Irish Point. The likes of Hermes Allen, Springwell Bay, and even Crambo were in behind that day. She's been very lightly campaigned this season, but she was a very eye-catching finisher at Kempton last time out. They kept her out the back. She stayed on well, and now she's dropped back to a mark of 136. She's lightly raced. She produced a huge career best here last year, and I think she's a big price at 12 to 1.
I'm going to go to my number 2 then. It comes in the 4:05 on the Thursday, which is the Hunter's Chase there over 2 mile 5 furlongs. Now, the market's topped by It's On The Line at 4 to 1, who was supposedly the good thing of Cheltenham, finished second at Cheltenham, but tops the market Aintree. But I'm going to take the horse on again here. I'm going to go with Animix here. Actually being well supported. Actually, on my notes here, I've got 7 to 1, but I've got best odds up here, and it's 11 to 2, so already well supported. But Animix for Willie Mullins and Patrick Mullins. Now, his form figures currently read 1p, 1p, 1. So if you follow patterns, then the horse is probably likely to be pulled up in this race, but I'm going to take a chance with Animix. Now, I've got a feeling that when I first started looking at this horse, as a novice, I remember being well regarded. Like, it was originally owned by Rich Ritchie, and Rich Ritchie was very keen on this horse. Now not with Rich Ritchie, but this horse is now an 11-year-old. It makes me feel old that I was looking at this horse as a novice, and this horse is already 11. But going through the horse's form, last time out, won in heavy conditions in really, really easy style, beating early doors by 10 lengths. Now, that was just over 3 miles, so we're looking at half a mile step up in trip here, but coming down to 2 mile 5, I've got a feeling this horse on heavy ground could show what he's made of. I think it'll be a really decent staying test. It's obviously over the Grand National fences. That'll be a test to see whether he can get over those. But I think he's a really, really talented horse, Animix. And I think 11 to 2 on heavy ground, which I think he'll absolutely love, will suit him down to a T. So I'll have Animix 11-2 as my second best bet. And I'll go for my number one, because you've already mentioned my number one. It will be Protectorat in that Melling Chase over 2.5 miles. I genuinely think that he's an absolutely superb bet in here. There's question marks around John Bond, not just over the stable form. You've also got to look at the fact that this horse had a really bad run at Cheltenham last time. It wasn't to the liking of many people, and whether he's actually as top class as we all hoped he'd be, I'm not quite sure. Pickdor, he's not going to get his ground. I know he won in testing conditions at Kempton, but that wasn't a strong race, was it? I know he's going to prefer better conditions, but Protectorat, he's done this at Cheltenham. He's gone and won the Ryanair. He's in the form of his life. And if there was one horse you'd just love to own at Grade 1 level, it would be Protectorat, because Skelton just runs him and runs him and runs him. He's not afraid to run this horse. And look, not many horses are coming from Cheltenham to Aintree trying to win both, 2 races over the similar distances, and Protectorat comes here. I think he's an absolutely cracking bet. I just got a feeling that Protectorat, this will be the one that could secure the trainer's title for Dan Skelton. It'd be a massive one for the pot. So Protectorat number one for me, and number one for Jack Dorling is...
It's going to be a Dan Skelton trained mare once again, who comes in the other William Hill handicap hurdle on the Saturday, and West Balboa is 8-1, and I think she'll probably go a 4-1 favourite here. She's off a mark of 141. She's off £6 higher than she was when she won this race last year by 5 lengths. She absolutely cruised home in this race, and she looks like she's been nicely gently campaigned, waiting for this race. Again, she beat Bruin Up a Storm by 12 lengths on seasonal reappearance. Then was out the back of the frame and good ground over 3 miles to Crambo. Same again at Sandown, and last time out in that same race that Katira was 4th in, she was back there in 6th. And if you thought Katira was ridden quietly with a handicap in mind, goodness me, Keelan Woods gave West Balboa an almightily quiet time at the rear of the field. She stayed on very well into 6th there. She's been dropped another pound to that wonderful mark of 141, which Dan seems to love, which of course Langendan won the Coral Cup off, and I think she has a cracking chance to go and win this race again. She's 8-1. I think she'll be 4-1, and I'll probably play her in a forecast with Mon Morale as well, who's 14-1. I think he could be second favourite come the off. So West Balboa is going to take out the William Hill handicap hurdle and complete a lovely treble or 4-timer for Dan Skelton.
Yeah, I think West Balboa actually was one of my best bets of last year. Was it? Was it in the Lanzarote? I put this. I was really keen. Yeah, I thought she won that in an easy start, and I thought she was a guide, but agree. I think she's a graded mare. She really is. And if she is to that level, she's probably going to take the beating here. So yeah, not a bad bet at all. And Dan Skelton, that's been the theme of this show, to be fair, and the number 141. So there we go. There are top 5 bets, but we have to have a look at the big one itself, the Grand National. It's going to be interesting with the heavy ground potentially expected for the big one. I'll get the market up currently, where we're going to see Corach Rambler, last year's winner, at the top of the market, 11-2. Iron Maximus is 8-1. Vanilla 9-1. Meeting of the Waters was purchased by JP McManus ahead of the Ultima, is 10-1. Mr. Incredible 12-1. Kitty's Likely Some Story, Panda Boy, they're 14-1. 16-1 About Mile Mission, 20-1, and bigger the rest of the field in here. Before we give our selections, Jack, I just want to get your opinion on last year's winner, Corach Rambler, because there's question marks around the ground. There's question marks about the hard race in the Gold Cup. Obviously won this fairly easily last year. What do we make of his chances this year?
I'd love to see him do it again. Don't get me wrong, but he's 11-2, Sam. He was 8-1 favourite last year. He's 11-2 this year. Unfortunately, I'm not brave enough to be backing a horse at in the National 11-2, and it's as simple as that. Yeah,
no, I completely agree. I think this horse is just far too short. I get why he's short. He's last year's winner. He's finished 3rd in a Gold Cup, and the prep's all been around this race. But I just think 11-2 is far, far too short, and it wouldn't surprise me if there are a few that be passing him at the finish. Now, I don't know how you want to do this, Jack, but I've got 3 selections. How many have you got?
I've got 3 also.
Okay, I'll run through the first of mine on the list, and it is actually the second favourite. I'll go from shortest to biggest price, but 8-1, Iron Maximus, I think, is a really good bet in here. This horse actually last time was seen beating Vanilla by 14 lengths on heavy conditions, and Vanilla finished 2nd in this race last year. This horse is definitely on an improve, and I do think, again, this is one of those JP horses that could be considered as a Gold Cup horse. There's no doubt about it. I think he's very, very talented. I think he's well weighted. Like, he's towards the top of the weights, but he's off a mark of 159. I just think that he has the talent to go and win a race like this. Whether he takes the Grand National fences, that's a question mark about quite a few of these runners, but I'd rather have him at the top of the market than Carrick Rambler, in my opinion, and it's Willie Mullins, once again, JP McManus in a Grand National. So, yeah, I Am Maximus to be the first of my selections to the race. Jack, for you?
Yeah, mine's also going to be I Am Maximus. I was only an hour in between I Am Maximus and Meeting in the Waters, but I landed on I Am Maximus exactly for the reasons you said there. I was really impressed with the way he beat Vanillier. He proves he can stay a marathon trip in the Irish National last year when he won there as well. And I think he's probably got, obviously not the same profile as Carrick Rambler, but Carrick Rambler was beaten 13 lengths by Galopin Des Champs last time out. I Am Maximus was 17 on his penultimate start. So I think they've got a similar-ish profile. They're off the exact same weight, and I think I Am Maximus probably edges it for me on a price point of view.
Okay, I Am Maximus, the first of our selections. My next is going to be one that's going to definitely love the soft ground. And again, this is a bit like you with Dan Skelton, Jack. This isn't actually sentimental reasons. I actually think this horse has a chance. He's again towards the top of the way, and it's Nassalam. He definitely needs to mention. He's carrying 11 stone 7, which again, like I say, it's a tough test around the national course, no matter what the ground. But if there's one horse who's going to relish this, it's going to be him. What he did in the Welsh National in heavy conditions was absolutely ridiculous. And look, he probably got a little bit unfairly treated for the way that he won that, as in, you know, it was a bit of a mess in behind and he had the race his own way, but still, it was a very, very talented performance. And look, Caelan Quinn's been cleared to ride from Thursday onwards, which is excellent. I know that he didn't get the ride in the Gold Cup, but, you know, he gets the ride back here in this race over a staying trip. I think he's going to jump really well. I like the way he jumps fences. He gives a lot of scope and gives a lot of respect to his fences. He did that in the Welsh National. So I think 20-1 might be far too big about him. He wouldn't be the best of my three. I'd say he'd be number 3 on my list in terms of the order I'd put them. But I do think he has a right chance. And Nassalam for me in the heavy conditions, Jack.
Yeah, no, I completely get that. I mean, it all happened a little bit quick for him in the Gold Cup, doesn't it? This pace will definitely suit him a little bit more. My second is also going to be another JP McManus horse, and he is definitely towards the top of the weights, like I Am Maximus. But Capodanno, I think, has had an outstanding season this year. Bar his seasonal reappearance, I thought his third to Galopin Des Champs was a good enough race. I was really impressed with the way he won the Cotswolds. He just stayed and stayed and stayed. And even the fourth in the Ryanair, which was clearly too sharp a test for him, but he got the job done to stay on in fourth there. So I think, yes, he's rated 161. He's going to be burning a big old weight there. And he was disappointing last year. But I think he turns up to this race this year in better form. And if he does, I think he's an out-and-out stayer. So Capodanno's 33-1. Hopefully he can run a big race.
There you go. Another JP horse put up there for the National. But Capodanno, Willie Mullins once again. My number one selection is going to be a horse that is in familiar colours for the National, and it is going to be Delta Work in the Gigginstown colours. Look, this horse hasn't had the best of preps leading into a race like this, but I'd imagine the whole season's been gearing around the Grand National, and you got to go back and look. I love horses who have run in the cross country at Cheltenham at some point and then go on to a National. I know this horse actually didn't run in the cross country this year because it didn't happen, but this horse ran in the cross country the 2 prior years on soft and heavy ground and won both times. So he's going to absolutely relish the trip. He's going to, again, absolutely love the fences. And like I say, I've got a feeling he'll put in a real big performance. I think he'll be my number one selection, actually, at the weight. I think he's off a really fair weight in this. And like I say, he's going to travel like a really travelly thing in this. And 25-1 will be a fair price without Delta Work on the day. You've just got to go with horses that are going to relish this ground. I think you're going to see a lot of these pulled up, aren't you, Jack?
Yeah, no, 100%. It's going to be a tricky race to stay in. Of course, to lump a big weight in, and the third selection for me is the biggest price of the lot. He's a treble figure price. He's 100-1, and I just think Eldorado Allen's been cool at crying out for a marathon trip. Just the way he shaped in the Coral Gold Cup, he was fourth there. Behind That's All Right Gino. Even the way he shaped Ascot, he jumps very fluently. I think he's been crying out for this trip. He didn't really give too much of an account in the Ultima. Apparently, he made a respiratory noise on his first start after a wind up. So hopefully he can bounce back from that. Yes, he's still got 10 stone 13 to carry and he's a 10-year-old. But I truly think Eldorado Allen, he's been crying out for this big marathon trip. And if he has, hopefully he's an old Gold Cup era horse who can hopefully give a good account off a mark of 153.
Absolutely. I'm just going to have a quick look through here, Jack, because I believe you put one up at a price similar to this last year who placed in the top 6, Born by the Sea, for training for Paul Gilligan. Was that right?
It was, yeah, Born by the Sea. I think it was 125-1.
That was it, yeah. I was just having a look here at last year's race, and I remember that you had a big price. Trying to remember who it was, but yeah, it was Born by the Sea, finished sixth. So look, don't be put off by a big selection from Jack Dawling in the Grand National. So Eldorado Allen is the horse to finish things off for Jack. So there we go, top 5 bets and a quick look at the Grand National itself. It'll actually be a race that I'm going to play very, very safely in terms of betting prospects. I think it's going to be very, very difficult to find the winner in heavy conditions. But yeah, we've given 3 selections each for the big one there. We're about, 3 weeks away from the 2,000 guineas coming, the actual proper start of the real flat season. We get to see the big kind of big names come out. We're seeing a few of them at the moment, but you're in that crossover period, which I'm not a massive fan of. Carl Burks even mentioned it in a piece he did for the Racing Post, that it's just a bit of an unusual period between kind of the end of Cheltenham and leading into the Guineas. So yeah, looking forward to start the Guineas. We'll be back probably in the next week and a half, 2 weeks, with a flat anti-post preview ahead of the season, and then we'll be back for the Guineas itself to preview that weekend as well. So looking forward to that. Jack, this will probably be, we'll probably have a little touch on Punchestown, I'd imagine. That'll be up in a couple of weeks again, an unusual period. But I think it's now after this, the flat really does kick into gear.
Yeah, it does. I'm really looking forward to the flat season. You know, I think Dubai was just the perfect aperitif. Yes. I mean, the world's best from all over the world. I can't wait.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic. I mean, unfortunately, just before we've come on and record this, we've seen Ramatuelle get beat, but I'll give my real thoughts on that in the flat anti-post preview and what I make of her chances throughout the season, rather than giving the opinions now. So there we go. As always, do like, comment, share and subscribe, and we love to hear your comments. Let us know who you're selecting for the Grand National itself, and we'll be back again in a couple of weeks' time with our flat anti-post preview. We'll see you again soon.